All the days blend into one. Well, I've been to the Middle East, so I went to the RL 100 Middle East edition in Dubai. So a big thank you to them for inviting me and everyone who I met there. Who was it was brilliant. Great to have so many interesting conversations with people, and some very different approaches to AI happening over there in terms of trying to implement it as sort of as quickly as possible. So it was a fascinating couple of days. It's always good to see how TA and recruiting works in different parts of the world. So yes. Now, what do you have for us this week? What's coming up on Training Random?
We're talking about AI in video games, which is so off brand for me, but I'm so excited for this topic actually.
Excellent. Well, it's a kind of a bit of an AI fest tonight. We were gonna rename it the AI Hour, but yes. Well, let's get stuck in with points and pints. So, if you've not watched the show before, or if you've not watched it for a while, what we do in this little first segment is we get ourselves a beverage, and we look at a couple of headlines that we've spotted in the news this week. Now, I have reverted absolutely to type, and I've gone for my favourite non-alcoholic beverage of all, which is Guinness Zero. This stuff is amazing. Guinness, if you're watching, we are open. This section is open for sponsorship. Trader Joe's have not been in contact with us, so Guinness, this is yours if you want it. Rhona, what do you have for us? What do you have for us this week?
I'm so excited this week. So since Trader Joe's hasn't contacted us, I'm
Yeah,
done with them for the foreseeable future.
for
Not
this week.
true. I know for this week. I actually asked on Threads what's the best bottled mocktail, and everyone told me about the Phony Negroni,
The
which
phony
is
Negroni. I love the
yes,
name.
it's
Yeah.
by a distillery called St. Augustus in Brooklyn, and everyone online says it's the best thing ever, and I've been waiting to try this for the entire week, so
I'm excited for you now. Let's try. Here's my Guinness. I already know what this tastes like. Oh, it's fizzed up everywhere. That's not good. Here we go. Let's pour it out in true Guinness style. You can't really do this quickly. I have to leave it for 30 seconds to settle or something crazy like that. So we'll just put that there. Okay, we'll try your phony Negroni first. I'm dying to hear about
I'm
it.
scared.
The power of threads. Is threads right or wrong?
It's good, but I'm not a
Oh,
Negroni fan. I
you're
should have
you're
probably
slightly
said that.
underwhelmed. You're slightly underwhelmed. I can tell
I
what
should
this is.
have
If you listen
probably
to the
said
audio, Rona looks slightly underwhelmed at this at this point. Right. Oh, that's so. Does it taste like a Negroni, or
yes, it does. It
it does?
really does.
Okay, cool. So it's not as bad as that fake gin and tonic I had the other week.
No,
No, nothing
no,
as bad.
it actually does taste really good.
Mm. As does this. This is marvelous. So, well, I'm glad that we've both got winning drinks this week, although
Yes.
maybe not quite living up to the hype. So, without further ado, let's get into our first article, which is coming up right now. Here we go. So, AI use in Call of Duty Black Ops 7 draws fire from US lawmaker. Now, we've already said that we're talking about computer games later in the show, but we're going to talk about them now as well. So, yes, not something that we normally talk about, but this really caught my eye, and it caught my eye for a couple of reasons. So, the backstory here is that there are parts of the new Call of Duty game where they are obviously using quite badly generative AI, and this has not gone down well. So the game has very bad reviews. Bear in mind, this is kind of the landmark release every year, and so it's got very bad reviews. And whether whether that's because of the AI in it or because of something else, we don't know. As a side issue, I am absolutely terrible at Call of Duty. I can never get off the first screen, so I've not played it because it would be pointless. So really bad reviews, and also the member of Congress who represents whose district is most of Silicon Valley has also kind of hit back and said that It's appalling that people's jobs are being displaced. And AI is being used and taking away creative jobs and all those kind of things. And he's calling for a tax on job displacement. So, two issues here. My views on them. I think the first one is the bad use of AI in this. I think this is kind of a metaphor for what we're seeing at the moment, or not even a metaphor. It's kind of an example of what we're seeing at the moment. Just AI slop everywhere. And I think in our industry, I'm just so bored of going onto LinkedIn and reading articles written in the same style with the same clauses and the same language. And I also feel that as an industry, we're not even out of first gear when it comes to using the AI that exists, that even exists at the moment. So, it's a kind of a question for next year for me, whether the AI gets better and we just get more and more of this, or people start to think about how they can really stand out. And this goes for employers as well in their marketing. How do you stand out in a world of AI slop? So let's start with that issue. Rhona, what are your thoughts on AI slop and what we should be doing about it?
I absolutely love that they're getting bad reviews, and bad reviews specifically for this because, to be honest, we can talk about it until we're blue in the face. No change is actually going to happen until the consumers, the people that have to pay for it, actually start demanding better. And so I absolutely love that. And honestly, I hope that energy is brought to online to LinkedIn and anywhere where content is absolute crap. I really hope people would start saying, like, this sucks. This was written by AI. Because honestly, we kind of need some of that.
Mm.
Otherwise, we're going to go further and further into whatever it is that we're stepping into.
Well, I think people just vote with their feet, don't they? They stop reading, they stop playing, and then hopefully people pay attention. I mean, I would say that I was looking at playing with some of the new kind of Google Gemini AI models over the weekend. It's a kind of substantial improvement, but it's still not that kind of original thinking, original voice, that original creativity that we kind of crave, really, because everything looks and sounds the same. So so let's hope that next year is some kind of turning point in the right direction for content. And then the other issue, the job displacement, tax on job displacement. I already know what your thoughts are on this,
Yes.
but tell us what you think.
Oh, I mean, I'm absolutely thrilled with that. I think anyone who's listened to episodes of the show knows that I've been saying for a long time, like, we need our lawmakers and our politicians and our government to step in and regulate this. You can't just be like, oh well, jobs are being taken by AI. Hope for the best. Like, no, like, you guys are the ones that are able to help control this. And I absolutely love the idea of a tax. It's like, okay, we're not saying don't do it, but if you do it,
Mm, mm.
then it will cost you more because it will cost the government and society and the economy more. All of this job displacement. I think it's a great step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it came from a single tweet. Are they still called tweets on X or X's? We'll call them
I
tweets
will
anyway.
call them tweets
Forever.
forever.
Yeah. So I think it came from a single tweet, and it was all about, if you're cutting creative jobs in this case to increase profit, then you should pay a tax on job displacement. So, there is a huge debate to be had there, I'm sure. But I think it's kind of I suppose it's this kind of the simplest sort of. I've heard some people talk about that because we talk vaguely about regulation and this and that and the other. And anyway, it's good to see the conversation. It's good to see that conversation out there. It's also good to see something that is using AI in perhaps an unnecessary way is being reviewed badly. So and I can't play this game anyway, so I have no brand
Same.
loyalty or affinity with it. So we'll put that down as good news. I think that's a
Yeah.
tick in the good news box. Okay, the next one, which is not good news, but let's have a look. Okay, so this is from one of Greenhouse's latest reports. The AI trust crisis. 70% of hiring managers trust AI to make faster, better hiring decisions. Only 8% of job seekers call it fair. Now, we can sort of discuss the semantics of those percentages in terms of who did they ask, and 70% of all hiring managers, because you know how much we like pulling apart surveys and things like that. But I think that let's focus on the principle here, because I think this is kind of really important. To me, I think that one of the biggest trends or discussions or things that we need to talk about over the next 12 months is trust. It's just coming up time and time again. Everywhere I look in the industry, it's all coming down to trust. Trust between employers and employees, trust between candidates, and recruiters. So, in this kind of ever encroaching world of AI and fakeness, trust is just incredibly important. And so, in this case, I think it's interesting because the report's talking in general about the loss of trust in the recruitment experience. So it's not specifically talking about AI on its own. However, a large proportion of the candidates were blaming AI for the loss of trust in the recruitment process, which isn't actually the case. There are lots of other reasons why trust is kind of being lost in the recruitment process, but also just this big imbalance between, TA and hiring managers who are seeing AI in a positive light, and the candidates who are seeing it in a very negative light. And I think that this is just something really, really important to think about, because vendors, TA teams, companies, no one's selling this to candidates. No one's talking candidates through what the benefits could be. Now, I see loads of case studies from vendors who are using, ethical, transparent AI to help with recruitment processes. And it's always like the candidates absolutely love it. It's great. They can get all these benefits from it. It's fantastic. Why is that PR not translating into the candidate side of things? Why are we not addressing this trust issue? And I think as more companies move towards AI-enabled recruiting, this is a massive issue, because if the people applying don't trust you, then it's not good. So, what do you? I could go on about this forever. What do you think?
I just what I want for Christmas, I'm gonna say it right now and for next year, is an independent study, unbiased, of where we stand with AI in hiring. Because like you said, when we hear the vendors, it's like, "Oh my gosh, candidates love this." And but do they really? We don't know. I don't really think we have the true numbers. Now,
Mm,
do I think that more people on the hiring side are appreciating and seeing the benefits of AI over candidates? 100%. But the main issue in my thing that we have to address is that we lost trust, and trust has been significantly declining consistently for years and years and years in
exactly. Yeah.
hiring,
Exactly.
way before AI was part of it. And
Exactly.
what we've been doing is just trying to make the same things that we've done that have already not had the trust of candidates have AI do it. Well, of course, the trust is going to go down even quicker because AI does everything faster, right? And a larger scale. So I think we still need to go back and address what we've needed to address for decades at this point, which is, why don't people trust us in our hiring? And I really think it boils down to transparency. And instead of using AI for good to increase our transparency in how we're making decisions and all of that, we're just automating what we've always done. So until we fix that and we
Mm, mm.
address the root cause of why there's no trust in hiring, we'll just be circling this drain forever.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think that one of the interesting things here is that with candidates using AI to apply, and lots of employers moaning about that, but they're using AI
Yeah.
and that's fine. And it's just like, actually, but also they're asking, and even worse than that, they're expecting candidates to have these tailored applications, not written by AI, to put all this kind of work in, and they're putting no work back into to communicate or feedback to the candidate. So, and again, that's kind of that causes this massive trust issue. So it's a we've talked about the candidate experience forever, and it tends to get taken seriously when there are skill shortages and ignored when there are more candidates than jobs. But really, we've never kind of addressed the trust part of this head on, and I think that AI is taking this to a point where it's going to have to happen because it just seems to be completely unsustainable now.
Hopefully, we will be forced into doing what we've needed to do for years. And then I'll be like, yay, thanks, AI.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's nearly December, so we can it's great because all these things we can go next year, it will this will be the thing that we will sort out.
This
Um
is our predictions. Yeah.
exactly. This is our prediction. Well, let's hope so. Anyway. Rhona, thank you very much for all your views there. We will see you again shortly to talk about AI and gaming again, just to bring that up. But in the meantime, we have a great guest to talk to. Hi, Danny, and welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to be talking to you and have you on the Alder Hour. Could you just introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do?
Sure. So I am Danny. I'm a talent, DI, and culture consultant. I've been in all things talent acquisition, talent management, talent development, and learning and development for about 20 years. And then about 7 years ago, I kind of transitioned into the liaison between talent acquisition and all things talent and DEI. And for the last 2 years and a half, I've been doing that on my own. So helping many different teams and many different companies get better, like make work actually work for everybody.
Fantastic. And talk us through like some of the work and the conversations you've been having this year, because there's so much kind of negative headlines and just
Yeah.
crazy things being written about D and I, as if it's actually a thing that it's you can sort of talk about in those terms. What's actually happening behind all that? What are employers doing? What are they thinking? What are you working with? What are you working
So
with people on?
Yeah, so many companies, what are doing, because of course, with all of the things that are happening in the United States, what they're doing is they're shifting either the name and they're calling it something else that it's not necessarily DEI, but the work is the same work, or they're shifting the focus, right? So instead of focusing on hiring diverse talent between a million air quotes, they're focusing a little bit more on developing the talent that they already have. So the work on itself, it has not changed at all, at least from my point of view and the work that
Mm.
I do. What it's been changing a little bit is the perception, the budget the companies are investing in all of this type of work, and then the way that we talk about it at the end
Mm.
of the day.
Mm. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes I think that makes sense, and it's good. It's good to hear that it is still a focus for kind of
Yeah.
many employers out there, just because of all the positive things that they're getting from it. I would imagine.
100%. Like, in the way that I approach the work that I do is, if you do not have, especially when we think about recruiting, right? If you do not have a workplace that is inclusive and equitable and accessible, you can put all the money in the world trying to attract talent in general, but you will fail at some point. You might be able to hire them, but they might leave very quickly. So, in my point of view, let's fix that first, and then we can ensure that we are attracting the talent that we want to hire.
So, in our previous segment, we were talking about AI
Eh,
in recruiting and trust, and I know you were listening in. Um, so we're sort of moving into, whether we like it or not, we're moving into this kind of AI focused
Yeah,
world, and I know that you've kind of spotted a lot of very dubious practices and things that are kind of
yeah.
being built. Can AI make hiring more inclusive, and what are people getting wrong at the moment?
So the answer is yes and no, right?
Mm.
There are definitely ways to use AI to make recruiting and talent development more inclusive and equitable and accessible. However, we want to make sure that whatever tool it is that we are using is those things first, right?
Yeah.
And with that said, we know that AI is biased, right? Like, There is no way to remove 100% all of the biases from any algorithm, as there is no way to remove biases from a human brain. That is not possible. That's the way that we are created and wired and all of those things, and that gets embedded into AI. So there are a couple of things that everybody can start doing, no matter their role or their discipline or their level of seniority, to use AI a little bit more inclusively. I personally like, I don't know, like sending transcripts right after a meeting so we can make sure that everybody's on the same page about the conversation that we are having. With that said, as you were saying, there are many tools and platforms that are a little bit dubious in the way that they're approaching
Yeah.
anything related talent.
And what are some of the kind of the worst things that you're seeing, the mistakes, the things that people should watch out for when they're
Yeah,
when they're
yeah.
kind of looking at these kind of products?
So a couple of products actually come to mind. One of them, I actually had a conversation with this company just a couple of weeks ago, and this wasn't necessarily a product for recruiting, but it could be used during a meeting, like a
Mm.
virtual
Yeah.
meeting. So basically,
Yeah.
what they were selling was um, like a transcript or an AI note taker, if you may, that would actually join the meeting, but without joining the meeting. And what I mean by that is it wouldn't let the other person know that the meeting was being recorded, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that is illegal in many places
Yeah,
here in the United
totally. Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
It is illegal. And they were not taking that into consideration at all. Like in their mind, this was a great product, right? Because you could have any meeting with anyone and you could have your transcripts and your notes, and that is not okay, right? And they're
Mm.
actually selling that product to HR teams and to recruiters and to candidates alike, and that is a tricky one. There is another product that I came to know again just a couple of weeks ago, and their big selling point was that they can actually screen candidates before the recruiter makes the decision to who they want to talk to. The tricky part is, and their biggest selling point is that they actually use the same technology that the US government uses to identify terrorists. And that was their selling point, right? That
Wow.
was the main thing that they
Wow.
wanted me to know about. Like, we would know exactly who you would be talking to because this is technology that we are operating under. So yeah,
Wow.
ethics out the
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, and I think the reason that I asked you this question is when we kind of describe them like this, they sound ridiculous, but
Yeah,
things are moving so fast, and there's so much
yeah,
money flying around these sector. These products are making it to market,
they are.
and even if they're not being badged as recruiting products, they're being used as recruiting products, and that I think that's the real danger of this. That people can be using tools that will not last long because they'll eventually fall foul of the laws that they break. But because there is just such a kind of a gold rush and everything's moving so quickly and people don't really know what's going on, there's a real danger here of what people could be buying.
Yeah, yeah. There is a real danger in, as you were saying, not only in the legal aspect, but
Mm,
in when we look at these things from an ethics point of view, from an equity point of view, from an accessibility point of view. And one of the things that I'm unfortunately learning is that in many of these products, like products that are built for HR tech or recruiting tech that have, like an AI component, it is actually extremely rare that they were built by someone with previous HR or recruiting or like
yeah,
legal experience. And that's how
yeah.
we end up with these products that they promise to do wonderful things, and then whenever someone looks at them with a legal point of view or an HR point of view, we identify all of these mistakes and all of
Mm,
these dangers that they were not thinking about. And in many cases, what I've seen is that they don't really care and they go live and put the products out to market
yeah.
and they will sell them and people will buy them. And in some other cases, we are saying that, okay, maybe this is something that we want to look into a little bit
Mm,
more.
And I think
Yeah.
on that kind of the whole topic of bias, I think one of the most interesting conversations I've had in the sort of last couple of weeks or so was, someone was kind of really pointing out to me that we the generic large language models, we know that
Mhm.
they're biased. We don't know how they're trained. I've seen people do kind of piecemeal experiments where they've given them different results, and there's kind of bias baked in and all that kind of stuff. But actually, there are so many employers who are using those models to write
Yeah.
job adverts and job descriptions, but
Yeah.
even companies who are using their own proprietary AI, it's based on it's accessing the APIs of these systems. So
Yeah.
it's still throwing up that bias, and without the right kind of checks and balances, there are lots of really big companies out there who are falling into this trap and actually putting out job adverts and job descriptions that are not optimized against
Yeah.
being biased or getting the kind of right response on there.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, well, interesting or dangerous or whatever it is that we might want to call it, is that for many of these products, and we are not only talking about job descriptions or job adverts, but we are also talking about performance reviews or
Mm,
anything related or the hiring process. Many of these products are actually built on OpenAI technology. And we know that OpenAI is flawed, right? Like we all use
mm,
it. We all use
mm,
ChatGPT every single day. We use it for many different things. Um, but one of the things that I'm trying to get, my colleagues in HR, recruiting, and DEI is whenever we are buying these products, that we start asking these questions like, how is this built? Like, what technology are we really using behind it? How is this audited? How many times do we audit it? What do we do when we find an error or a mistake? Or what do we do when there is bias that we identify? And unfortunately, for what I've seen, at least again in my personal experience, we don't always get
mm,
straight answers to all of
mm.
these questions, and that is a tricky part, especially when you are in HR and you don't necessarily have like a strong technical background to assess what is right and what is wrong.
Absolutely. And I know one of the other things that you focus on is inclusive leadership.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us a little bit about that, but also, how are some of the technologies out there sort of impacting that, or how is leadership changing, and what do people kind of
Yeah.
need to think about?
Yeah. So inclusive leadership, for those who are not aware, is basically leading a team in a way that we are making sure that we are putting the needs of the team and the needs of the individuals first, right? Like, yes, of course, we will focus on the work. We will do all of the things that we want to do, but we are going to do this in an equitable way, right? So making sure that every single member of our team gets what they need to do the job that they are supposed to be doing. And in the way that technology is shaping these conversations, in some ways it is shaping it for the better, and unfortunately, in some ways it's not. Something that I am seeing a lot lately are products, AI products that help managers either with planning one-on-one meetings and checking conversations, which I really like, right? Like these tools might give the leader a list of questions that they could address based on the conversations that they've had in the past and based on the goals that the person has. Those products are really, I really like. And of course, we would need
Mm,
to
mm,
assess how they're built and all of those things. One of the aspects that I'm not necessarily a super fan of is the AI products that are kind of taking over the performance review process.
mm,
Systems that are writing the entire performance review based on conversations and goals and emails and Zoom meetings without the input of the manager. Um, and as you were talking about before with Rona, like that saves a lot of time. That is 100%. We know that is very helpful, but again, we don't necessarily know if it's biased, if it's using the same, like characteristics for me or for you, if it's using different language or how the decisions are being made. So, checks and balances, things for
yeah.
us to mind.
Yeah, and I suppose that one of the things that we were just talking about previously was trust, and
Yeah.
how that is such an issue, but both in leadership and recruiting and all those kind of things. What's your kind of advice to employers? What do you think people?
Yeah.
How are we going to get trust back in the workplace, in the recruitment, in the recruitment era? How should people be thinking?
So, one of the things which is very easy to do within a million air quotes, and this is something that we've always failed in the recruiting space, and we are now failing even more, is communication, right? Making sure that we are communicating clearly to the candidate what is it that they're going to go through in the interview process, why are we asking certain questions, and why and when they are going to be interviewing or reviewed by an AI product, whatever that is. So, one of the things that I'm seeing a lot lately whenever I talk to candidates is they don't necessarily know what's going to happen, right? Like the ATS is going to, reject my resume myth. It's still making the rounds
Mm,
now. It was a
mm.
thing 20 years ago. It's still a thing today. It's now like even more exacerbated, right? Because like AI is everywhere and we are not communicating clearly what AI is doing for us, where and how those decisions are being made. So I do believe that communicating a little bit clearly is definitely the first step. It's not the only thing that we
Yeah.
should do, but it's definitely the very first step, the very first thing we should be doing.
Absolutely. And so we are very nearly in December, which means it's open
Yeah.
season and asking people their predictions for next year. But I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. So
Yeah.
thinking about 2026, what do you hope's going to happen? What would you love to see happening in 2026?
What I would love to see happen is that we get back to the human part of human resources and recruiting and making sure that we are treating the other person as the human being that they are, that we are trying to give all of our candidates and employees the best experience that we can potentially give them, either manually or with an AI system supporting our efforts. um I don't necessarily know if that's gonna happen. Like I don't necessarily have, such a positive outlook for
Well, that's
next
true.
year.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah.
But that is what I hope that we see, and that we see a little bit more transparency on what's what, when are we going to be doing certain things and why, if we are going to be asking questions during an application process that says, are you open to have your resume reviewed by AI, which is something that a lot of companies are asking, that we take a minute to include, like a little text beneath it, like explaining why we're asking that question,
Yes.
and how
Yeah.
and why the AI is going to be reviewing your resume. So those are my hopes.
Absolutely. And I share all of those 100%. Let's
Yeah,
hope let's hope that's how 2026 shapes up.
hopefully.
Danny, thank you very much for talking to me.
Of course, it was a pleasure. You know where to find me.
Absolutely. Okay, so now it's time for trending or ending.
Okay, so we talked about Call of Duty using AI to generate game art, but there's another side to this AI gaming story that's interesting, at least to me. So, remember when NPCs were just dumb? Like they would walk into walls, they would repeat the same three lines of dialogue, completely oblivious to the fact that you just murdered their buddy right in front of them. Well, those days are done. While some studios are using like AI to cut corners on art assets, others are using it to create experiences we've never seen before. And the market is really it's exploding from 3 billion to 51 billion by 2033. Those are the projections. 51 billion. But here's what really caught my attention, right? So there's this game, I've never played it, the Nemesis system from Middle Earth. The orcs actually remember you. They hold grudges. Like you kill their friend, they come back stronger, angrier, with actual personal beef. One might develop a fear of fire after you burned him. Another gets cocky because he beat you once. So, like, they're becoming kind of more human as far as having emotions and stuff. They're not replacing artists, though. They're creating something artists alone couldn't build, personalities that evolve in real time based on your actions. So, Over 50% of game studios are using generative AI right now, but the smart ones, they're not using it to replace their teams. They're using it to amplify what their teams can create. Like all of these worlds, everything that I was talking about that adapt to how you play, side quests that weave in your specific story, dialogue that responds to your actual tone. And this is exactly what's happening in our workplaces too. Like the companies winning aren't the ones using AI to replace people, they're the ones using it to make their people superhuman per se. Your designer isn't getting replaced by Mid-Journey. They're using it to prototype 100 ideas in the time it used to take them to create one. So remember when only Fortune 500 companies could afford enterprise tools? Now solopreneurs get the same power for $20 a month. One developer can build what used to take an entire team. One marketer can test campaigns that used to need an agency. So the playing field isn't just leveling, it's exploding. And like just like these NPCs that remember and adapt, our work tools are also getting personal. Think your AI assistant won't just schedule meetings. It'll know you hate Monday mornings and prefer walking meetings. It's not just replacing your judgment, it's amplifying your preferences. So, yes, it's getting more advanced how AI is able to mimic emotion and humanness. It's kind of scary, it's kind of exciting. I can't wait to see where it goes. Matt, what do you think? Is this trending? Is it ending?
Well, I just love this take on it, and I love the comparison to what we were talking about earlier about Call of Duty 7 getting bad reviews and using Gen AI quite badly in some of its artwork. It's like, the AI revolution is here. The more I'm kind of in this every day. It's not, even if the whole AI economy crashes, it's not going back in the box. We've kind of seen what it can do. The technology's out there, and I think that what you're talking about there is a vision for what we should be doing with this. It should be making humans better. It should be helping us achieve things that we've never been able to achieve before quicker, in a way that is positive for everyone. And I think we're sort of caught in this inevitable, well, actually, if this can do the jobs of humans, then we should just replace humans, rather than actually this can really augment the humans that we've got to kind of build something. So it may be that we've kind of got some pendulum swings in this. We're very much kind of swinging towards we're going to do more with less people. But hopefully we might kind of move back to this kind of vision where it's like, let's do the impossible with more people.
Yeah.
Because that's how we can kind of move forward. I'm also terrified of these intelligent orcs. What they're gonna like start hacking out of the hacking out of the game and into the internet and all this sort of stuff. I've seen films where this is not this is not a good thing from war games in the 80s upwards. But yeah, I think it's like a great. It's kind of the vision that I think we should be working to, and translate that into sort of talent acquisition for us. How do you think that might pan out, in terms of what we do? That kind of sort of growth, positive, do impossible things, be super recruiters, and actually have more people.
I mean, we've been complaining for years that we don't have time, that we don't have enough resources, that candidates hate us because we don't have time to be transparent and stuff like that. It's like, let's think outside of the box without, well, I mean, let's just be cliche, but let's think outside of the box, right? And think, look at all of the problems that we've had, problems or issues, and see how can AI really help us solve that. So instead of taking that approach of how can I replace recruiters, which really unfortunately is most of what most HR tech vendors, the approach that they have taken. How can we cut cost? How can we replace recruiters? How can we have less recruiters? And don't even think about that. Think about how can we solve the issues that we actually need solved. And but in order to do that, we need people in HR tech space who actually know about recruiting, who actually have lived it, who actually know the problems that we're having is what I think. I think that's where we need to start.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, I was kind of having a really interesting conversation with someone earlier today for a podcast that I'm recording, at the end of the week about humans in the recruitment process, and just we're actually talking about recruitment. We're talking about staffing agencies, recruitment agencies, and how it actually, looking at this from a really positive light, you've got people who can build trust with candidates, introduce candidates to companies they may never have heard of before, all these kind of human stuff. And I think that that's very true in talent acquisition as well. I mean, I think one of the most interesting kind of human in the loop things that I've heard isn't about checking for bias or mistakes or all that sort of stuff. It's like, who's the advocate for the candidate? Who does the candidate
Mhm.
feel is advocating for them in the process? And I think that was such a kind of a real moment for me when I heard that. I was like, yeah, well, of course, it's that's what people want. That's going to help. Persuade them to join the company if they feel that there's someone, doing that for them in that particular process. So I think, I think we kind of need a bit of a reset on this in terms of how we think about it, and it's not just from the um it's not just from the taking jobs away mindset that some of the software is coming from, but it has to be from the people working in talent acquisition as well, rather than just sitting there, just just kind of denying this or letting it take their jobs.
Yes.
Where's the vision? I think it has to come from talent acquisition to say, do you know what? This is our vision of what we can do. And I think that I've been saying this to TA leaders all year. There is this window where AI makes you more efficient and you have this capacity to do something. You have to say what that is in the language that the C-suite understands. And you can't just say, it'll allow us to be more human or to do the things that we should be doing. When you ask people, you get very vague answers. And it's sort of be like, it will allow us to do this, which will drive this for the business. And this is what that looks like on the bottom line. And then, oh, strangely, that they might not cut the team. Do you know what I mean? So I think it comes from TA as well. TA has to have that vision and have that, kind of have that business case of this is what we're going to do with AI, and this is why it's good for the business. And it doesn't matter. It's not about a one-off headcount reduction. This is about us driving value for years and years and years and years. And that's the bit of the conversation that I'm not really seeing, which I think we have to have.
Yeah, and as you're talking, I was thinking about something else that maybe we merge the both of the big buzzwords or buzz phrases for this year. I think it's high time that in A and TA we start accepting that we really aren't that great at assessing skills because we have limitations as humans. And
Yep.
this is
Yep.
TA and this is candidates also. Why don't we use AI to imagine and like really extract what the current skills that a candidate has or like what it could bring. We see beyond what they themselves are seeing, what we are seeing. I'm like, to me, that's where we can really harness the power of AI because if you're having NPCs
Yeah.
who can like
Yeah.
respond to
Absolutely.
how you're behaving and like hold grudges and stuff, why can't we have it see past, okay, I think I'm good at this, you think I'm good at this, but because of these signals you could potentially be good at this. Like that's where I
Yeah,
see
I think
us.
that's I think that's genius because it's like rather than saying, "Look at this application and tell us whether they can do this job," it's like, if we had this person in our business with these skills, what would it bring us? And it's just a very different, and that's the kind of stuff that AI can model out. And I think
Yes.
that's again what we're missing. We're just looking at this from a very narrow, black and white binary perspective. So yeah, I think this is our manifesto moving
Yes.
forward. And this is what happens when you talk about nothing but AI for 45 minutes. You come up with, you come up with these kind of visions. But yes, yeah, I think that's great. I mean, that's exactly what I mean by having a vision.
I was like, did I
100%.
just do my prediction for 2026?
I think you might have
this
done.
early
Yeah.
on this year.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
we're
prediction
warming up for it.
slash
Yeah.
manifestation.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, but it's not. It's like when I asked Danny earlier. It's like it's not predictions. It should be vision. It should be like, this is what we want to happen, because I think that's where we are at the moment with just the chaotic nature of everything. The people who win in chaos are the people who have a vision and persuade people to follow it. It's just it's as
Yes.
simple as that, and that can be a horrible, terrible outcome, or it can be a brilliant outcome. So let's work on the brilliant outcomes for our industry.
Yes. And before we wrap, I actually want to say something. I want to talk again about my phony Negroni
Only
drink,
Negroni. I've still got my
because
Guinness, but yeah.
as the show has gone on, I absolutely love this. So great job to the St. Augustus guys or gals, I don't know, in Brooklyn. This is actually a Negroni with no alcohol. Like, it literally tastes the same way. So it's really good. I think the initial like fuzz, when you just open the bottle, was what was throwing me off, but this is amazing. So
So
had to say that.
Bone in Negroni, absolutely trending.
Yes, absolutely trending.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rhona. That was just a great thing to talk about. And here's hoping that lots of people are listening and will agree with us or argue with us, or just let's just have this conversation.
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
See you next week.
And that brings us to the end of another show. Already, it just flies by. It just flies by. This Guinness is non-alcoholic. Okay, so my thanks to Rhona and to Danny and to Alan, our long-suffering producer, whose impression of me, his English accent impression of me, does get slightly better every week, but he's still got quite a long way to go. So there are loads of other fantastic shows on Purple Acorn, including Rhona's show, Workfluencer, the HR Morning Show, From the Desk, My First Job, From X to Z, and many, many more. So make sure you do go over to the Purple Acorn LinkedIn page and follow them. And also go to purpleacornnetwork.com and check out what's going on over there. You can find the Alder Hour as a podcast on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your quality podcasts. My longer form interviews are available on Recruiting Feature, which is also available wherever you listen to your quality podcasts. And yeah, make sure you search for the Alder Hour while you're doing that as well. So the Alder Hour will be back next week. It's going to be December already, which is just blowing my mind, but I'm already looking forward to it. This is Matt Alder, clocking out.